Hey, Katrina here from Scrappy Horses. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I am working on an index card for my index card art diary. And in case you've not seen that before, it is a little box that I have made, and I just put in little index card size cards where I just explore different things. Sometimes it's a different art idea. Sometimes it's a thought I'm having that I just want to write down and journal about. Just anything I want to write down or say or create, I can do it on these cards and put it in this box. And so I will leave a link to this box if you're wanting to make something like this. I will leave a link to the box where you can find those directions. This little card was inspired by the challenge over at FarmQuest Challenge blog, where the theme is bears. And I gotta tell you, I thought this little bear here, Winston, was the perfect little country bear out fishing for this challenge. Now, once this challenge goes live, you'll only have about a week left to play the challenge. So I will link that below. And if you have any country bears that you want to share with the challenge, I encourage you to do so, because their challenges are always a lot of fun. All right, let's get started putting this index card size card together. And everything I am using is from Polkadoodle's Winston Deluxe Full Collection. And I will link that below also so that you can find that collection. It's an old one, but such a fun one. And you'll find many uses for all these wonderful images and all the ephemera and papers that come in the collection. What I'm doing is I am putting together the ephemera and papers together in a digital style, but I'm also putting in one digi that is uncolored so that I can have some fun doing some Copic coloring on this piece. I'm going to start with this piece right here, and I'm going to start building up my page or my card on top of this. So the next thing I want to bring in is this paper. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to right click it and move it to the front and just slip it right over here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just rotate it slightly to the left. I can do that by using this little toggle here, using my mouse, and just sort of sliding it right in here where I would like it. And it's just that easy. Next, I'm going to bring up this piece. Again, it's part of this collection. He's already colored, but again, I wanted to color him myself. So when I imported this digi, I'm going to pump this up a little bit. When I imported this digi, I sort of cleaned him up a little bit and got rid of some of the things around him. Because when he imports with the water and this area and the little dragonflies. Well, I knew I was going to be putting this on top, so I went ahead and cut those out when I imported. Now, if you're not sure how to do that, I have a video coming out mid to late August, and you'll want to check out that video. And I believe it will be called something like Importing Collections or something like that. And I talk about how to import and get rid of what you don't necessarily want. So you'll want to check out that video. So I've imported this, having taken out what I didn't want. And you'll notice that the little bobber here, and I'm going to pump this up one more here so we can see, it doesn't match exactly, but most of the big parts of the image match up pretty well. So I'll just fix this when I Copic color it. It's not a big deal. I go ahead and with my mouse, I select both of these images and I come down here and hit flatten. And now there it is. It's ready to roll. When I set this piece on top of this piece, I want it to show up really well. The best way to do that is to offset this. So I click the offset button while it is still selected, and I wait for the offset to show. Once the offset shows up, I can change the size of the offset, and I'm going to make this pretty small. So I'm going to use I can move this back and forth and use my mouse. And once I get it to a certain place, I can't make it any smaller. So I can go to the arrows on my keyboard and move them to the left and make them as small as I want. Once it comes in, which it has, you can see it right here, I click apply. And I want to change that black to the dark brown. So I just click this color square, come down and click the brown, and that took care of that. Now I'd like this to stay together. So I'm going to go ahead and come over here to the group, click group, and now they will move together no matter what I do. I'm going to move out again a little bit. I'm going to bring him over and just stick him right here on the page. All right. Next, I want to go ahead and bring in this gone fishing sign. Let's move these things over a little bit here so we can find everything. There we go. Before I move in the gone fishing sign, I know I want to put a shadow on that. The easiest way to create a shadow effect here in Cricut Design Space, because there isn't really one, is to go ahead and duplicate. So I'm going to select this sign. I'm going to say I want to duplicate it. So I'm going to right click, duplicate. I'm going to come to print and cut, make it basic, and now it is a shadow. I can make it into a shadow. I'm going to offset it to the up and right of the item. I'm going to move this send to the back. I'm going to make it that dark brown color by clicking the square, changing it to the dark brown, and now I have a shadow effect going on. I'm going to select it. I'm going to go ahead and group them. I'm going to go ahead and bring him in, the sign in. I'm going to move this to the front, the bear here. I'm going to move this up a little bit. I think I made this a little bigger actually, so let's do that. All right, so now we've talked about how to make the shadow and how to keep the things, the items moving together. All right, let's go ahead and bring this piece in because I wanted a little something else back there behind here. And this comes in the kit and it is sort of a cork pattern. I want to move this, I want to rotate this, so I'm going to grab my toggle here. I'm doing this with my mouse. I'm going to just slightly turn it. Again, I want to copy this. So I'm going to right click, duplicate, come over here where it says print and cut, turn it into a basic cut, send it to the back. I want to move it just slightly up and to the right. I'm going to click the square, make it dark brown, select them both, and I'm going to group them. That way I can move this to, you know, the right and left here. I can rotate it to the right and left and get it exactly the way I want it, and they'll move together. Again, I want it behind our little bear here, so I'm going to bring our bear to the front. And we're going to make that a little more of an angle. There we go. Now we have our little glasses, and I've already put the shadow on that. I'm going to right click, move it to the front, and just stick it right in like so. Now I'm going to bring in our little dragonfly. Again, I've already put in my shadow, so I'm going to bring our little dragonfly to the front, and I'm just going to stick him right in here. Now these buttons, I wanted shadows on them. So again, I went ahead and I selected, I duplicate, I come up and say basic, change my color, bring the button back to the front, stick it in like so that I just have a little brown coming off to the right and at the top. I'm going to select them, group them, and I'm going to bring it right in here. I'm going to do the same thing to this one. I'm going to bring to the front. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to duplicate and go ahead and bring in my shadow again. So select, right click, duplicate, left click basic cut, move to the back or send to the back, go slightly up and to the right, change that gray to the dark brown, group it together, and stick it right on top. Now I have this little button, and he's just sitting underneath these other buttons. So I'm going to go ahead, bring him to the front for a moment. Then I'm going to stick him in here about where he goes. And then I'm going to come over into my right and just move him behind these other buttons. There we are. So now this top part's pretty much done. Okay, so let's go ahead now and bring in our flowers. I am not going to shadow all of these, but I did shadow them all. I did. But I'm not going to in this because that's going to get very boring for you. So let's just put them in place and pretend like we put those shadows in. So I'm going to bring him to the front. I'm going to place him right over here. Next, we have this flower. We're going to bring to the front and place that right on top. Like so. And then we will bring in this little turquoise button right here because I didn't want it to be pink on this particular piece. So I'm going to bring this little turquoise one in and cover it. And you can see I did slightly give that one a shadow also. This piece, this button, I'm going to bring it to the front. And I stuck it right underneath this flower. So again, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to pull him underneath that light one, like so. Then I brought in the little green button and I gave him a shadow. Bring to the front and just sort of put him right over the top here. This little button I gave a shadow. I'm going to bring him to the front. And he went right up here, like so. The only thing left now is to bring in our text. So I go over to my text over here on the left-hand side, left click, and type in patience is a virtue! Exclamation point. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make that a really prominent black color. I'm going to bring it down to about the same size here, but you'll notice it doesn't fit. It's coming off the page. That is because I came up to advanced, ungroup two lines, and now I can manipulate each line by itself and move them. So I can bring in my patience. I can bring the is a, and notice how I lost my little places to make that smaller. If I bump this up size-wise, they come back. I'm going to make that a little smaller. Push it up here. Move my word virtue up so it's up here. And if I just pull this off just a little bit, that might help us. Now, when I come in, you'll see that this will show up not quite as thick as it does here. And so you'll be able to see how this all works. I might want to bring this down just a little bit so that my verbiage kind of sits on there a little better and it's easier to see that way when it's sitting on that plaid there. Okay, so not exactly like what I had before, but pretty close, pretty close. And if there's anything you want to change, you can definitely go through and make some changes. And now for our final step, we're going to come in and select everything and hit flatten. All you have to do now is print this, color it, and then you're ready to do with it whatever you like, whether you want to make it a card front or a little journal index card piece like I am going to do, or you want to use it in a art journaling book where you do some art journaling. You could use this for anything you like. So I'm going to print this and cut it. I'm going to color it and then meet you at the craft table. We've made it to the craft table and you can see that little Winston is all colored up. Here is my art journal index box, and again I'll leave that link below. This is a piece of scrap paper or leftover paper from a project. I'm going to cut it to size. I'm going to use a little ATG and put it on, and you're going to see that I don't get it on straight. So I have to take a second go at it, and it still doesn't go exactly straight, so I have to trim it a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and punch those holes, and I'm going to take just some kitchen string and just string that through and tie a knot, and that's the only embellishment I'm going to use on this. So this was a pretty easy project once we got it all set up in Cricut Design Space. Here it is. There's plenty of room on the back side for journaling and anything I want to write or think about. Lately, patience has been an issue for me, so this is something that I sort of want to think about. All right. Again, I am going to link everything you need below. Come check out the Farm Quest Challenge. I know you'll enjoy it. Hey, have a wonderful week, and I'll catch up with you in the next video. Bye.